Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to get a wintry, frosty, cold girl makeup look using all affordable makeup products. So I would really love it if you subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it, and let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. When I think about winter makeup, I think about perfected, clear, but still glowy skin with some highlight for the frosted effect. I think about blues, purples, pinks, ethereal, sort of Elsa Frozen princess vibes. So that's what we're going to be going for today, and we're going to be using, like I said, all affordable products, so you don't have to break the bank, especially with inflation. You know, we all want to be watching our budget when it comes to makeup especially. So first, I figured I would just do my brows with you guys on camera because I haven't done them in a while, and I've actually switched up how I've done them, and I'm telling you, this is the quickest brow routine you'll ever have. Literally, no one uses powder in their eyebrows, but it is so quick and easy. So what I do is I take a brush that has an angle and then a spoolie, and I just brush through my brows. Let me zoom in a little bit. So I just brush through my brows to kind of get any tangles out or just get the shape generally of what I'm going for. And then I will take my brow powder, and I've been really loving this brow powder from Arches and Halos. You can get this brand at Target, I believe. And what I love about this powder is that it's super pigmented. Ulta Beauty also has one that I really like, but it's less pigmented, it's more buildable. So if you're afraid of pigment and you want something a little bit lighter, go with the Ulta Beauty powder. But if you want something super quick that's going to fill in your brows like bam bam bam, this is it. And I have mine in the shade Neutral Brown, and you can see it's just these cool tone, almost grayish browns. So I usually go into the lighter one. Mostly you can see I've dipped in there quite a bit. I just tap my brush in, and I start on the outer portion of my brows because that's where I want the most pigment. And you can see this is a very pigmented powder, so be careful. But if you have a lot to fill in like I do, this just makes it so easy. So basically I'm just kind of stamping and swiping the product on, and then I will gently brush through. I just fill in any sparse areas that I have. I kind of like to do both brows at the same time, just so I can make them as symmetrical as possible. But if it's easier for you, you can do one brow at a time. Also, just to make sure you didn't miss any spots, you can brush your hairs down, and that'll really allow you to see where the sparse areas are, and you can place the pigment there. So when I get to this inner portion, I like to start on the bottom, and I'm sort of stamping a line. And since my brows are a little bit far apart, I like to extend them inwards. So I will just extend this line a little bit there. And I don't want a harsh line like this on the top, so that's why I focus on creating the shape on the bottom. And the great thing about powder is that if you mess up, you can just sort of like wipe it away. It's not like a brow pen where it's a little bit more permanent. So again, I have the shape, and then I'll just start lightly sort of feathering the product in. I'm not stamping like I was on the outer corner because I don't want as much pigment here. Just sort of feathering it in. And then I will take like the side of the brush and just sort of use that to create the inner portion, and then I dust through. And that's basically it for the brows. Later I might go in with a brow pen just for the inner portion to create some brow-like strokes. You definitely don't have to do this, it's totally optional. I think it looks good just like this, but if you want a little bit more definition or like actual strokes, a powder's not really going to do that. So you can go in with like a brow pen just in the inner portion and do a couple little lines, and it's super easy. But that's basically it for powder. So quick, and if I'm not talking, I can do this in like literally like 2 minutes. So I love it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the skin. So since it's winter, my skin has been abnormally flaky and dry. So I already washed my face, went in with the moisturizer and my sunscreen. If you're interested, I can list both of those products below. I use them every single day and I love them, and they're really good for sensitive skin. But I feel like my skin does need a little extra hydration just because, again, it's winter and my skin is super dry. So I'm gonna go in with a primer water just to rehydrate the skin, give it a little drink before we go in with more products. I'm gonna take this one from Makeup Revolution. It is their Infinite Mattifying Setting Spray. This one is mattifying, but I don't find it to be overly drying. So I'm gonna douse my face in this. And I just give it a little shake just to make sure all the ingredients are mixed up. While that is still damp, I'm gonna go in with my primer. And I like to do this because it's like when you get out of the shower, you kind of want to apply lotion when your skin is damp because it helps to lock that moisture in. So the primer I'm going to be using is from Believe Beauty. This is their Radiantly Primed Face Primer. And this is just a really glowy primer that is going to look beautiful under our foundation. And I just take that on my fingers and I just rub it in like a moisturizer. If you have more oily skin, you can focus it just on the high points, but because I have more dry skin, I'm just gonna kind of put it everywhere. And then I'm gonna let that set for a minute or so because the instructions on this say to let it set. So I'm gonna do that and then we will apply the foundation. Okay, so actually before we do the complexion, I kind of just remembered that we're gonna be going with a lot of shimmery glitters. So I'm gonna do the eyes first, just in case there's any fallout. I can clean up my cheeks and stuff so I don't look like a disco ball all day. So for the eyes, we're gonna do something sort of simple. It's gonna be everyday appropriate, but still a little glam, a little bit of frosty, glittery goodness. So again, everyday, but still princessy, ethereal vibes. So for the eyeshadow palette, we're gonna be going in with one of my favorite affordable palettes. You can get this off Amazon for like $10. I heard about this from Taylor Wynn here on YouTube, and it's called the Fantasy Eyeshadow Palette by Changeable, and you really get like every color under the sun. These shades are pigmented, blendable, so amazing. I was so shocked the first time I used it, and I just been using it like crazy because I love it. So for this look, we're going to be dipping into mostly the blues to create that icy princess look. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to first start by creating a base, like a structure for the eyeshadow. I'm not just going to go straight in with blue. I'm going to go in with this pink matte shade in the palette and use that to create the structure. It's my transition, and it'll just sort of give us a roadmap of where we want this look to go. So I'm just taking some on a fluffy brush. I didn't tap off the excess just because I do want as much pigment as possible. And I'm just going to slowly start working this into the crease. And I like to sort of keep my eyelid closed while I'm applying the eyeshadow. I know most makeup artists say to leave your eyes open so you can see what it looks like. And I do like to look every now and again to make sure, you know, everything's turning out okay. But I don't know, there's something about seeing all of the lid space that makes it easier for me personally. So I just keep this eye closed. This shade is very, very subtle, but that's okay. We can go in and deepen it up. I'm just gonna do the same thing on this eye. I just primed my lids with my concealer. I used the NYX Bare With Me Serum Concealer that we're gonna be using on our face later, and I did not set it because I want a little bit of tacky grip to grip onto those shimmers we're gonna be using. Okay, so that's really subtle. Let's go in with something a little bit deeper. All right, I'm gonna take this tiniest little dot of this shade right here, just to give a little bit more depth. But again, I don't want anything too deep. So I'm gonna take, actually, maybe I'll mix these two, but I don't want anything deep. So I'm literally just gonna go like boop, 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 and tap it off. And I'm gonna focus this right in this socket. Like you can see, dipping my brush in here. And that natural socket is where I'm going to focus that, just to emphasize the natural contours of my face, well, of my eye, you know. And then I'm going to sort of drag it down to connect that to the lash line. And I'm just working with that tiny little bit I had first because I don't want something too harsh since this is an everyday look. But you can see these colors are very blendable and very pigmented. And once I have like the color placed, like with the patting motion, I will start blending with small little circular motions just to diffuse the color and get rid of any harsh lines. All right, I feel like this eye is a little bit more pigmented than this one, so I'm just gonna go in with a tiny bit more to make them even. And you can build up this outer corner as much as you want. If you want something super sultry and smoky, you can definitely keep adding more pigment. But again, I'm trying to keep mine a little bit more wearable for every day. Once I have this sort of blended, I'm just sweeping whatever's left on my brush into this inner portion here. But I don't want too much pigment, so again, I'm just taking the leftovers and sweeping it across. Okay, I feel like that looks pretty good. Again, it's not a super smoky look, but it just gives us a little bit of structure. So let's go in with the shimmer next. I'm gonna take this blue shimmer right here. With my finger, I'm just going to tap that all over the lid. I'm not gonna really put it on this outer corner here. Let that purple peek through over there. And when I apply shimmers, I like to do tapping motions rather than like swiping, because I feel like that produces less fallout. And I also like to tip my head back so that it's not falling down this way, you know. I want gravity to work with me, not against me. And I also try not to put too much on my finger. It looks a little crazy now, but trust me, trust the process, it will all come together. To really amp up that blue, this is a really pretty like subtle shimmer that I love, but I kind of want to take it to the next level, so I'm going to go with a Colourpop Super Shock shadow in the shade Moon Daisy, which is just like this stunning, sparkly, ethereal blue glittery goodness. So I'm going to take that on my finger. That's my favorite way to apply Super Shock shadows. And I'm just going to literally go over where I just applied that other blue shade. And the reason why I didn't just go straight in with this shade is because this one has a little bit less of a base color. So it's a little bit more like of a topper, I guess. You can totally build it up to get more of an opaque look, but it's not naturally super opaque. So I feel like going in with the base just gives it more of a like opaque color, and then this just gives it that like sparkly flare. But if you want something more sheer for every day, you can totally just go in with the Super Shock and make it a little bit more like sheer and more just like wash of blue. Like, isn't that so pretty? But I'll show you what it looks like kind of by itself. See, by itself, it's kind of just like a very, very sheer wash of blue, silvery. Can you see? See, like by itself, it's just sort of a very sheer wash of blue, silvery sparkle. So that's why I went in with the base coat. But again, totally up to you. I do want to go back in, just blend out the edges a little bit. I'm not even adding anything on the brush. I'm just taking the brush we used with the matte shades earlier and just stamping on this outer corner just to sort of make sure there's no harsh lines. Sweeping along the edges. And with more ethereal looks like this, I like to add some more definition to the lash line. Depending on your eye shape, you can bring it all the way across, or if you're like me and you have more downturned eyes, you can focus the liner on the outer corner. So I feel like a liner really helps to sort of ground these light look colors we have going on. So I'm going to take my NYX Professional Makeup Epic Ink Liner, one of the best from the drugstore, just one of the best in general. And I'm going to just do a subtle line, like really close to my lashes. I don't want like some super big wing because I don't want to overpower the look, but I just want to ground it a little bit. So I'm going to start sort of on like where my, what is this, your iris? Like where the color part of your eye starts. Yeah, your iris. And I'm literally like stamping as close to the lashes as I can. And I like to rest my hand on my face just to give it more stability, especially since I drank coffee. If I didn't, I'd be like, so I need a little stability there. And I want the thickest part to be on this outer corner, but I don't want it to go up too high, so it's just like thin, 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 and then slightly thicker, and then thickest out here. I feel like you can see it just sort of adds a little bit of definition and depth to this outer corner. But again, I'm not winging it out, so it's not changing the shape of my eye too much. It's not really elongating my eye, it's just subtly lifting the eyes and giving it a little bit of structure and like stability. I don't know if that makes any sense or if you can see, but I feel like it makes a difference. So I'm gonna do the other eye and then we will move on to, maybe we'll apply some mascara and lashes and then we'll do the face. I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so mascara, liner, lashes are on. I just used my Colourpop Act Natural mascara, just did a light coating. And then I went in with these Kiss lashes from this like holiday collection. You can literally use any lashes that you like. I love pretty much all Kiss lashes. They're all really good. But today I went in with the classic full set and I just love how like fluffy they are. So that's what I went in with. So since we already primed, let's go in with foundation. I'm gonna go in with one of my favorite drugstore affordable, actually just overall foundations, the Catrice HD Skin Foundation. This is matte in full coverage, but you can sheer it out, and depending on how you prep your skin, you can make it more natural or dewy, which is why I love it. It's so versatile. And they recently reformulated this to add niacinamide, so it has some extra skincare benefits, and it's just so good. I love it. So this foundation comes with like a dropper. I just take a couple drops and a brush. Usually I like to use a damp sponge with this, but I'm too lazy to go dampen my sponge. But I do think the damp sponge helps to add a little bit of hydration since this is a more matte formula. But I just go ahead and stamp the foundation in. I find that if I swipe too much with a brush, then it sort of picks up on my dryness. So stamping is definitely the way to go if you do have a dry skin and you're using a brush. And I mean, you can see that evens out your redness. One little layer is like really good coverage. And just for an everyday look, I'm not going to build this up too much because I want the skin to look sort of natural. And I like to do one side at a time because this formula does dry pretty fast. For concealer, I'm going to go with my NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer. This is super hydrating on the under eyes, which is nice for my winter skin. But it adds really good coverage actually. So I'm going to go with the shade Fair and just tap a little bit into my brush. And then just lightly start placing that where I want the most coverage. Right here on this inner corner. Since we have blues on the eyes and purples, I really want to make sure that my under eyes are nice and bright. And then just to highlight the center of the face, I'm going to take a little bit more, paste some in between the brows, down the nose, and on the chin. I'm going to let that set for like a minute, like 30 seconds to a minute, just to get the most coverage out of it, and then I will go in and blend it out. While that's setting, I'm going to multitask a little bit and go in with my bronzer. So because we have such cool tones going on the eyes, I kind of want to go in with a little warmth, something a little bit warmer. So I'm going to go with my Colourpop Super Shock bronzer in the shade Get Sandy. I love this formula. It's like a cream to powder formula, but there's something about it that's just so thin on the skin and it blends so easily that it just looks so super natural. And it's not too orangey or red, but it does add a little bit of warmth. So if you're close to my skin tone, I think you'll really enjoy this shade. And again, it's pigmented, but it's not overly pigmented. It's very buildable, so it's not like overwhelming. And I just like to actually just take that same foundation brush I was using and I just dip it in and I just start working it like along the perimeter of my face in like stamping motions. I don't want to swipe too much because I don't want to pick up the product underneath. And again, it's so seamless, like you can't even tell where it starts or stops. It's a really good formula. So I don't want to go too overboard with the bronziness because, you know, it's winter time. Probably not getting too much sun, but I just want to add a little bit of structure and color back to my face. And now we can go in and blend the concealer. I know I'm looking a little crazy, but again, trust the process. So I'm gonna wipe off the extra concealer on that brush because I don't want to add any more. I just want to blend. I'm just gonna go in, make sure everything's nice and blended. Okay, actually just to really sink it into the skin, I'm gonna use my finger and just tap it because I want it to be as seamless as possible. And the warmth of my finger is really gonna help to ensure that everything is just super seamless and melted into the skin. So I want to sort of mattify things a little bit just to ensure that everything stays in place. And one of my favorite powders for the under eyes, if you have dry skin, mature skin, crepey skin, this powder is so good. It's the Perfect Matte powder from Annabelle. It's a little bit harder to find. I think it's a Canadian brand and you can find it off Amazon, but it is so, so good. So I just like to take a little brush, slightly fluffy but still a little bit dense, and just tap it in. Make sure that my creases are blended out, and then I will just press that into the skin. If you want to add a little bit more coverage, a really good affordable powder is, of course, the Maybelline Fit Me, a cult classic. And I also like to take a little bit of that Annabelle powder just down the center of my face because that's where I want some mattification going on, where I have larger pores, that sort of stuff. For the rest of my face, I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. Halo Glow setting powder. This is an amazing setting powder, better than high-end powders. It just sets your makeup seamlessly and it doesn't ever look drying on the skin, and it gives your skin like this beautiful radiant finish, but it's not glittery at all. So I like to take a fluffy brush and just tap that onto my skin just to ensure everything is going to last. You really don't have to do that with this foundation because it kind of sets itself. It's like a self-setting formula, but I like this powder not even just to set, but just to add a little bit of like life and radiance back. I've used that powder on multiple people when I'm doing their makeup, and I swear it looks good on everyone. For blush, I'm going to go in with one of my favorite cooler tone blushes. This is the Flower Beauty Flower Pot powder blush in the shade Sweet Pea. I mean, look at this rose in here. It's so cute. But aside from the cuteness, it's actually a really nice formula. These are very pigmented, so be very light-handed. But I feel like it's going to tie in really well with the eyeshadow we have going on because it's a little bit more of a purpley color, but not too purple, just like a pinky mauvey purpley blush. It's really unique. So I'm just gonna apply that to the cheeks with a fluffy brush. And actually I am gonna take a little bit of this blush and just knock it in the socket of my eye as well, because I feel like these tones just complement each other so well, and it'll just make the look even more cohesive. And I'm gonna take a little bit and pinch the brush and just drag that on the lower lash line too. I wanna go in with a little bit more bronzer just to sculpt the nose. This one's a little bit more cool toned. It's from Flower Beauty. Love the marbling, so aesthetically pleasing. But aside from that, the formula is amazing. This shade is so unique. If you have fair skin, you'll love this because it's cool toned but not gray. Has a little bit of a luminous finish, so there's something about it that just adds some like life to your skin. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that and just give some definition back to my nose. I like to put a little bit under the nose to sort of shorten it a little bit, just to give me that more like button nose look. Then put a little bit under the lip, plump it up. I'm gonna put a little bit right here, give me that like rounded tip. And again, powders are so nice because you can just go and like tap them, and they're just really easy to blend. Don't get me wrong, I love creams too, but there's something about a powder that's just so fast and like a little bit more forgiving. I'm gonna knock a little bit of that bronzer under the lashes as well. And again, a little bit in the crease. I love to do this with my complexion products because I feel like it just ties everything together. I'm just gonna take a very light dusting of this bronzer and just sort of set where I put the Colourpop bronzer. Alright, so for lips, I'm going to go with this Catrice Plumping Lip Liner. I love this formula. I don't know if it's necessarily plumping, but It is super creamy and super long lasting, so definitely a hidden gem at the drugstore. And this is the shade Understated Chic. Might want something a little bit more pinky. Yeah, this one's a little bit too peachy, so let's try the shade What a Doll. I think this will be a little bit more pink. I'm just gonna line and fill in the lips with this. I love doing this with my lip liners because it's like the perfect lazy girl lip. And I find that lip liners last really well. Look at that color, so perfect. Okay. Why can I never find anything around here? Like so all over the place. Oh, it's right in front of my face. For lip gloss, this is one of my favorites. You can see how much I've used it. This is the NYX, this is Milky Gloss in the shade Milk It Pink. I just love it because it is so shiny and it just adds the most beautiful like milky pink, light, creamy color to your lips. It's delicious. So I just add a little bit. So pretty. All right, let's finish up the lower lash line. I'm gonna go back into that Fantasy palette and I'm gonna keep it really simple. I'm just going to take these two like purpley brown shades that I used earlier and I'm just gonna take a very flat brush and literally just stamp that like on the outer portion of my lashes, just to sort of balance out the bottom and the top, because I don't want my eyes to be like too top heavy. And then I'm just gonna take a small little like pencil-y brush and take that pink shade, the first shade we went into, and just blend that out. All right, we're gonna touch up the brows because I feel like they lost a little bit of definition as we were doing the makeup. Oh wait, let me add some, I'm gonna add this Epic Ink liner, the nude one, to my waterline just to brighten up the eyes, and a little bit of mascara, and then we will touch up the brows. I swear I make the weirdest faces when I'm... Does anyone else make the weirdest faces when they're applying liner? Like, oh my gosh. To brighten up the inner corner, I'm actually gonna go in with this white shimmer. I'm gonna take it on a small brush and I'm gonna spray my brush and pop it in the inner corner. All right, let's touch up these brows. I'm gonna take, if I can find it, my brow pen from Colourpop. This is a pretty good brow pen. I don't know if it's like my favorite ever, but gets the job done. This is their Feather Effect brow pen, and I have it in the shade Black Brown. And I'm just gonna go here on this inner portion and just start like doing little lines, starting at the bottom and drawing upwards. And then once I do the inner portion, I kind of just go through the rest of the brow just to even out the color. Just do little strokes. I'm just going to set my brows with my NYX Control Freak Brow Setter, just a clear brow gel. Go back in with my setting spray. Okay, so that completes this all affordable makeup winter makeup look. So, okay, you know what I mean. I just love makeup, and I especially love affordable makeup, and I just think this look is so cute and ethereal and perfect for winter. So if you recreate this look, definitely comment that down below, tag me on Instagram. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. It means so much to me. I love you guys, and I'll catch you guys in my next video.
I can take you anywhere, I could take you home. I just wanna be there so you never feel alone.